Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast. I've got your training camp notes from 7:31, which is today, and an updated look at my projected final roster for your Green Bay Packers. Very excited about covering the Green Bay Packers for all of you. Please give us a like if you've not already done so. Please give us a subscribe as well. We're to almost 4,000 subs, and we're trying to get to 5,000 by the start of the season, and you can help make that happen. So really appreciate all of you for checking out the videos and we have a long runway of Packer content for you in the future. So let's look at your camp notes for 7:31. The Packers were coming off of a day off. And as a positive note, we've had a number of players come back from injury. Donatavian Wicks came back from a calf injury today. Savion Williams came back from a concussion. He's now wearing the oversized bobblehead helmet as a precaution for future concussion issues. And Aaron Banks all returned to practice on Thursday. That leaves only running back Marshawn Lloyd out with a groin injury and Christian McCaffrey out with a knee injury, along with offensive lineman John Williams with a back injury and defensive end Colin Oliver with a hamstring injury as non-participants in practice. Very concerned about Colin Oliver's inability to get on the practice field. John Williams is expected to have a long-term long-term back injury, and probably might start the season on the PUP list. We'll have to see what happens with John. I don't expect him to be an impactful player in 2025. He's just missed too much of practice to be a viable option for the Packers this year. Marshawn Lloyd and his groin injury, we do have positive news. It's not expected to be a serious injury. And as I expected, he'll probably be back next week. They'll probably give him today, Friday, family night on Saturday off. And then the Packers actually have 2 more days of practice off. So maybe we'll see Marshawn Lloyd back in practice on next Tuesday after family night. I'm hoping that's the case. In fact, Matt LaFleur said Lloyd, who got hurt in practice earlier this week, will not return to the field this week, but is not expected to be a long-term injury. So that's great news. With the offensive line fully healthy, we saw our first look at the offensive line that will likely be the starters for this year. We had Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, and Zach Tom. So our expected game one starting offensive linemen were finally in the mix today. Great to see. I don't anticipate any significant problems as long as Aaron Banks can get consistently into practice. He's the one player that is new to the team and has missed a lot of practice. So I'd like to see him have the next couple weeks to work with his teammates. One important note about the offensive line that came out from today was at left tackle. While Rasheed Walker took most of the snaps in the first part of practice at left tackle, it was Jordan Morgan who came in and was the left tackle with the number ones for most of the end of training camp, of practice today, I should say. So it's really good to see Jordan Morgan getting into the mix there. My prediction here is Walker's going to be your starter for 2025. And they want Jordan Morgan to get some experience at left tackle in case there's an injury or in case Rasheed Walker does not return to the team when he's a free agent next year. So, but it would not surprise me if Jordan Morgan saw snaps at left tackle and right guard throughout the course of training camp and possibly the regular season. So I'm very excited to see the depth that this team has. While there's some teams like the Lions who are struggling just to get a first team unit together, I feel like the Green Bay Packers have enough depth that we can weather some significant injuries in the offensive line and still be effective. So thank you, Goody, for all the great offensive line drafting that got us where we are today. Very excited about that. Reports are that Jordan Love was probably had the best practice of his training camp so far this year. He had no interceptions. He was in command of the offense. I saw several clips today where he was driving the ball well with authority. He was reading the defense, changing things up at the offensive line. Everything you'd want to see out of a third-year starting quarterback for Jordan Love. So I'm very excited to see him continue to show he is ready to be a leader 3 years into his career, much like we saw with Brett Favre, much like we saw with Aaron Rodgers. That third year tends to be a pivotal year for quarterbacks in Green Bay. So I'm very excited about that. I should say third year as a starter, because obviously Jordan Love's been around for 6 years, but his third year as a starter, he's showing a real command of the offense. On defense, good news for defensive tackle. We saw Brinson and Stackhouse provide multiple solid plays at defensive tackle throughout practice. Brinson in particular potentially had 2 sacks from the defensive tackle position. So this is a great thing to see, because there was a lot of concern about defensive tackle depth this year, but I've seen enough in training camp to feel very confident that Brinson and Stackhouse, along with the returning players, can give us consistent push on the defensive line. That's going to be very important week 1 against the Detroit Lions, because their interior offensive line is being rebuilt. So if we can get pressure on the Lions in the middle of their line week 1, I think that's going to be a great thing for that game in particular. Next up, LVN continues to show good play in practice, along with Valentine at corner. This is a great sign at 2 positions that we need to see great production. If LVN can step up his game and Valentine can continue to progress as a corner, this is going to give us great production at 2 of the areas that most people are concerned about, the defensive line, edge rushers, and depth at corner. If Valentine can show he can be a consistent number 3 corner off the bench or in the nickel, it's going to be a really great thing for the Green Bay Packers this year. I'd love to see pass rush and cornerback play become a strength of this team. And if that's the case, this defense can easily be a top 5 defense, in my opinion. In the 2-minute drill, defense won all 3 series against the offense. We're continuing to see that. That does not concern me, because I've seen Jordan Love be productive in other parts of practice. It's really just the 2-minute drill where the defense is really dominated, and I like to see that. And even Jordan Love has come out and said he's excited about how the defense is playing. So I'm very excited about that. Since we didn't have a lot of notes today from practice, and knock on wood, no serious injuries, I wanted to take a look for a few minutes at my updated depth chart projections for the Green Bay Packers for the start of the season. So let's go ahead and switch over to sharing my screen here. All right, let's take a look at this. So I've been looking at this, and I update this every couple days as I take feedback from what I hear from training camp. And I'm paying attention to the battles. I'm paying attention to the players that are flashing in practice and trying to get a feel for what we're looking at. So let's look at DB here, first of all. I think Nate Hobbs and Dixon are definitely locked in as starters. That's why they're in green here. Now in red, we have an interesting battle between Valentine and Bullard, because in the nickel defense, which we play 60% of the time now in the NFL, we're going to have either Valentine out there, or we're going to have Bullard, or we're going to have a combination of the two. And it might depend on the opponent. If Valentine wins the nickel role over Bullard, then I expect to see Nate Hobbs move into the slot and Valentine take his position on the outside. However, if Bullard ends up getting the nod as the nickel defender, then I think we're going to see Nixon and Hobbs stay on the outside, and then we're going to see Bullard play the slot. So there's a lot of moving parts there. It's probably going to be position by position. So even though Valentine and Bullard are playing different positions, in effect, they're actually battling each other for that regular starting role in the nickel. So we're going to watch that very closely. Obviously, McKinney and Williams are going to be locked in as your safeties. And then we have our depth here, including Bo Melton, which I think it's pretty automatic that he is going to be on this roster at this point. His ability to play consistently as the 5th or 6th corner, his ability on special teams, and his ability to be an emergency wide receiver really make Bo Melton too valuable not to make the starting roster. And then we'll see how things shake up with the other cornerbacks and safeties. It's really too early to tell. Let's look at our offensive line now. I'm trying to focus in on key battles for you to watch as we watch the news and notes. So as we said earlier, Rasheed Walker and Jordan Morgan are now officially in a battle for that starting left tackle spot. We hadn't seen that before because Jordan Morgan was playing guard because we had guards that were injured. But now that our number one offensive line is all able to play consistently in training camp, now we're going to see a real battle between Rasheed Walker and Jordan Morgan. I still think it's Walker's job to win, and if he does win that job, then I think Jordan Morgan can likely go to right guard. So we're going to have to see how all that plays out. And of course, we have Elton Jenkins at center, Aaron Banks at left guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. So we really only have two battles here, and they both involve Jordan Morgan and who he can beat out, because I think there is an important narrative here that Jordan Morgan should be a starter as a number one draft pick. I think, or first round draft pick, I should say. I think they have to find a way to get him onto the field so he can get experience and be ready to step up if there's an injury or if there's a player who leaves in free agency next year. Either Sean Ryan or Rasheed Walker, both of whom are free agents, could leave next year. So where Jordan Morgan fits in is very important. Let's look at our wide receiver predictions. These have been updated. I have Dobbs and Matthew Golden. Previously, I had Donatavian Wicks as an outside starter, but now I have Matthew Golden and Dobbs starting on the outside and Jaden Reed as your slot receiver. Donatavian Wicks would be your stretch the field fourth receiver, and Savion Williams, if he gets onto the field, is most likely going to be your gimmicky joker type player. So those are my predictions right now. Matthew Golden has been so effective in training camp, they just can't keep him off the field. He has to be a starter. Looking at linebackers right now, Edgerrin Cooper is the third down linebacker along with Quay Walker. And for early downs, it comes down to McDuffie or Simmons winning that job as the third linebacker on early downs. Simmons has been getting a lot of positive reviews from training camp. He's got a lot of physical ability as a former first-round pick. He has experience playing safety, so that's another reason that he should be pushed forward into this roster because he has great coverage skills as a former safety, and McDuffie is not great in coverage. So if Simmons is in the mix for that third linebacker, we could have some really exciting athletic linebacker play if Cooper, Walker, and Simmons are on the field at the same time. And what a feather in the cap would it be for Brian Gutekunst if Simmons, who is a reclamation project or a flyer that could turn out to be a starting linebacker for your Green Bay Packers. Designated pass rusher, I still have down as Colin Oliver, but I'm not so sure now because if Colin Oliver can't get on the field and Isaiah Simmons can be that third linebacker, you might end up using both Cooper and Simmons as rushing linebackers when you want to blitz the quarterback. So I think there's a lot of options here for Jeff Hafley. And it's really amazing to see the wealth of riches that the Green Bay Packers have at linebacker when just a couple years ago, the linebacker position was a significant weakness for the Green Bay Packers, and now it's becoming a great strength. Now let's look at defensive line real quickly. Lucas Van Ness is 100% slotted in to be the starting edge. And we're going to have Dante Wyatt and Kenny Clark in the middle. And, of course, Rashawn Gary on his side, on the left side. So we've got the defensive line starting rotation pretty much set here. And we have a couple people, a couple players that are really either locked in as depth or are battling for a position on this starting roster. Brenton Cox, Aaron Mosby, I think, are competing between the two of them to see who will make the active roster. And Stackhouse and Brinson are competing right now to see who can be some depth at defensive tackle, especially at nose tackle in the event Kenny Clark has an injury, knock on wood, or he needs a break. Both Stackhouse and Brinson have been playing really well in practice of late, and that decision might go down to the wire with the loser ending up on the practice squad. So I'm going to be watching that very closely. Running back and quarterback are pretty set. We've got Josh Jacobs, of course, as our starter. Assuming Marshawn Lloyd is healthy at the start of the season, I have him as the number 2 change of pace back. But blocking back right now, we have Brooks and Wilson competing right now. Brooks is getting a lot of favorable comments coming out of training camp, and Wilson has been a little quiet. So this might be Brooks' job to win. We're going to have to see what happens there. Of course, at quarterback, we have Jordan Love and Malik Willis as the backup. And I still think Tyler Elgersma is going to be our depth quarterback that's probably going to be on the practice squad. So that's my updated depth charts. Please stay tuned for future videos. We're probably going to have some news and notes from practice tomorrow. We're going to have news and notes from family night. That'll probably be on Sunday morning that we're going to do the news and notes from family night. Important note, if you are outside of the broadcast area of the Green Bay Packers, but you're a fan, the Green Bay Packers have announced that they're going to broadcast on the internet family night. So if you go to Packers.com, you can find a link on Saturday night and actually watch family night. It's a great experience. It's much like the practices that they have during the day, but obviously they try to make it a little more fun. They have more 11 on 11 on family night than you would see on a regular practice. And more importantly, there's going to be 80,000 people watching a practice for your Green Bay Packers. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's going to be maybe 100,000, 200,000 more fans watching it on the internet. So if you're interested in watching Family Night, I'm not in the region, so I'll definitely be watching it online. But that's an exciting opportunity to watch Family Night. It's a special event, and I strongly recommend you put it on your calendar now for Saturday night. So we'll be back with news and notes from training camp tomorrow. Also tomorrow, I'll probably be doing an additional video. I did the first video today where we tried to simulate the current roster as much as possible with Madden 25. I'm going to try to do another video of that tomorrow if possible, so look forward to that as well. So give us a subscribe because we've got plenty of Green Bay content for you here on the Pack Attack Cast. And as always, go Pack Go. We'll see you next video.